Hello. History records that one of the early explorers of the North Pole, while he was aiming to get to the magnetic North Pole, he stopped his journey, pulled up his huskies and got his compass out and checked where is true north and took a bearing, took a line of sight on a mountain, put it back in his pocket, got back with his huskies and off he went. And after an hour of travelling in that direction, pulled them up again, got his compass out just to check he's on the right track. When he checked where true north was, it was now over here. And he thought, that's strange. So he took again a line of sight, got a bearing, he was going and saw a mountain that he could aim at, put it back in his pocket, back with his huskies, and he went for another hour. Got off, repeated the process, checked his compass, and now true north was over here. What's happening here? He was taking his bearings all the time. It wasn't too long before he realised that while he thought he was going towards true north, the firm foundation on which he was standing, the large ice floe, was actually moving. Now, we may invest a lot of time into building our foundations, and we may think we know where true north is, but the world is changing all the time. It's changing for our children and our young people. So we need to be constantly reassessing where is our true north and where are we investing our time to make sure we're heading in the right direction towards our true north. On the foundation of family, household family, and generational connections that we built in the last video, we now want to build some what we call formational pillars. Each of these pillars contribute to the other to strengthen a resilient, lifelong faith. Now hear me say, there are no guarantees with this. Proverbs says, train up a child in the way that they should go, but that is a proverb, it's not a promise. It's a good thing, it's a wise saying. But building these pillars is a strategic investment of time into the future of your children and young people. The first of these pillars is about serving on mission. For too long, children have been seen as objects of the mission rather than active participants in the mission. Children are not simply to be seen as jugs to be filled with information, but rather as whole people of God who can actively contribute to the mission of God. When any of us is given a chance to give an account of the hope that is within us, it causes our faith to go deeper as we talk about what is true, what we know to be true. This is true for all ages. Where are the opportunities for your children and your young people to be able to give out as well as take in as they continue to grow in their journey with Jesus? And where can this be done with all ages together as part of a family? My wife and I have 3 kids, and today they continue to actively serve God today. And as they were growing up, as we grew up together, going on beach missions every year was a priority. In fact, when we decided to stop going, Mark and I, after a year or two, our children said, can we please go back to beach mission in that environment? When they were growing up, they went on camps, and they took their friends from school who didn't know Jesus to go on camps with them. When they went to university, they got involved in university mission activities. As they grew older, they went on separate mission trips to Congo and to Sri Lanka. And when each of them was baptised, our family tradition, they then had a chance to explain the difference that Jesus made in their lives to their friends who'd come to hear and see them baptised. So as you add the first pillar, the first formational pillar to your house that you're building, remember the words from the Bible which says that we are all called to give an account of the hope that is within us. May your children and young people have opportunities to do that as they serve on mission. And what could this look like in your home family and in your church family? Second formational pillar is about helping our children and young people to respond with compassion. We are acutely aware of the brokenness in the world in which we live that surrounds all of us. We all have hopes, we all have fears about the future. So do our children and young people. Too often we provide our children with the adult solutions to some of the world's problems and our community's problems, rather than actually just presenting them with the issue at hand and involving them in a process of what are some suggestions of what could be done. The internet is filled with stories of children and young people today who are changing their community and the world in their own way. I'd love to take time to tell you some stories of young people I've met who are changing the world. What might be possible for your children if they were just given the opportunity? I know growing up in our family that an elderly man in our church congregation, his wife died after being married for more than 50 years. And my wife, an excellent cook, she has a gift of taking meals to people. And so she said, Terry, would you look after the children? I'm taking a meal round to Ron. And she did, and Ron loved that. Let's rewind. If only we thought a bit differently. Wouldn't it have been better if our children had joined us, if we all went, so we could sit down and our children could see and experience the smile in Ron's eyes as he reflected on 50 years of marriage to his wife, and the hope that he has of being with her one day. Even rewind again and go back to our dinner table and say, what could we do together to serve Ron? So not just our adult answer of cooking a meal, involve our children in the process. I'm sure our youngest would have said, Ron served in the army, we could buy Ron a Nerf gun. Maybe Ron would enjoy firing that around the house. And if that had happened, I hoped we would have bought that Nerf gun, and I think Ron would have loved it. Let's think differently as adults, involve our children in the process so they can respond with compassion. Can I say that it could just be as simple as 1, sitting with the heart of Jesus, 2, seeing with the eyes of Jesus, and 3, serving with the hands of Jesus. Add that pillar to your building that you're building here today. And may our children grow as we give them opportunities, as it says in Romans 12 and 15, to rejoice with those who rejoice and to weep with those who weep. Here's a question for you. Talk it over with your neighbour. How many stories are there in the Bible? Easy as that. Pick a random number, make it as big as you want to. Have a go, call it out, compare your ideas. I actually met a pastor once who, when he was at Bible college, calculated how many stories in the Bible. I know the answer. Maybe you've got it right. Okay, time is up. The answer is 1. There is just one story in the Bible, and that's God's big story. Every part of the Bible, every event, every book, every character, every command, every prophecy, all must be understood in the context of one storyline. In many cases, the approach to faith formation that we've taken has been built around a series of disconnected stories from the Bible with memory verses attached. Today, all of us, including our children and young people, are looking for the big story of life, want to connect with something bigger than we are, and the Bible provides that story. As we enter this story, it's important that we discover not only the content, but also that you and I and our children and young people, we're all a part of this story, God's story. It's our privilege to help others to find their place in God's big story. It is one continuing story. It began a long time ago with creation. It will end one day with new creation. We're not there yet. It's one inclusive story, because we're all part of this story which hasn't finished yet. And it's one compelling story. This is a life-transforming story. Does your language and my language communicate a heart that reflects a passion for one God, one story, one future, one hope? I work with Scripture Union. I get paid to be excited about the Bible. Let's be excited as we share this. And as you add this pillar to your building diagram here, may this story be a daily lamp to their feet and light to their path, as we read in Psalm 119, 105. Sadly, for many of our children and young people, their decision to walk away from Jesus is because they haven't really had a true encounter with him, our fourth pillar. In an entertainment-driven, visually stimulated, I'm bored generation, there's a tendency to fill our programmed lives with lots of activity and noise and busyness so as to maintain attention and hopefully communicate something of value. And so while we need to be aware of learning styles and the times and the seasons, we need to use all we can to be effective communicators. there is a danger that we fill our spaces so full with activity that there's no time to hear the voice of God. I'm sure you and many other Christians can remember a time and a place where they may have felt particularly close to Jesus. Was it an event, a particular episode in their life? These same Christians would testify how important that moment was and is as they continue in their ongoing faith journey. So how important is it for us then to create the spaces where we can help our children to encounter the living Jesus? Not just in the words from the front, but in that small, still voice of the Spirit of God who desperately wants to communicate with each of us. May God's Spirit lead us to help our children and young people to meet and to come and to love a Jesus who is real, a Jesus who wants to communicate with them, and a Jesus who transforms lives. So add your fourth pillar to your building diagram, that these encounters with Jesus. Remember Jesus' words from John 10 where he says, "My sheep, they listen to my voice and they follow me because they know my voice." May that be true for the children and young people in our circles. So take some time now to sit and reflect on these four beginning formational pillars. Explore together the questions on your screen before returning to come back in the next video to discover four more key formational pillars in this process of rethinking discipleship. Think creatively, think laterally, think honestly, think outrageously. Go on, you can do it.